So with the release of Lord of Hatred, there is a ton of new long-term progression, a lot of which are re-rolling or farming a bunch of a more rare resource, or even farming something like the new mythic seals that just take a ridiculous amount of time to get these items, but there are just a ton of small ways to continue to get more and more power out of whatever build or class you're running. And one of them is probably the most unknown, but can potentially give you some pretty decent power increases, but it is pretty much pure RNG and requires a decent amount of resource farming, and this is the ability to get greater affixes on your charms. As you can see here, I have a charm that has 2 greater affixes because all of your charms get 2 randomized affix rolls on them, and as you can see here, you can get a greater affix on both of them. But from everything I could see, you can't get greater affixes on charms as normal drops. You have to use this one method to be able to get them, and that is re-rolling them. And this is also specifically for set charms. You don't seem to be able to do this with unique charms or anything else. It's only for set charms. I think most builds in the game right now are running their 5 set or even more, so it isn't really going to be that big of a deal. But what you're going to be doing is you're going to be going to the cube and you're going to be using the reroll set charm craft. And what this takes is the set charm, whatever set charm you're trying to go for, and then it takes 25 raw primordial dust and 50 infused heraldric resin. Now, the raw primordial dust is primarily just found from elites. So wherever you can go in the game to just spam kill elites is going to be the best thing. This will most likely just be done in like nightmare dungeons with some of the different nodes you can get throughout some of the end game skill trees. And this one shouldn't be the thing really holding you back. Now, the infused heraldric resin can actually be a bit harder to farm because it's only obtained from salvaging talisman, charms, and seals. So anything that goes in your talisman inventory, you salvage that. That will give you some amount of this resin. I think set charms are 25 and unique charms are like 50 or something like that, and a bit less for the lower rarity stuff. And it takes 50 of these, so if you salvage 2 set pieces, you have 1 reroll here. But the potential power you can get from this is pretty good. And you essentially just get a reroll until you get greater affixes on this charm. Now, what rerolling the charm does is it completely rerolls that charm to another one in that same set. So it's not randomizing to a different set. So what's pretty nice about this is that if you say reroll into one that has like a greater affix you really want, you can just build the rest of your set around that specific one. Now, when it comes to trying to roll a bunch of different items in the same set, like let's say I roll this and I get a greater affix or 2 greater affixes on this, and it's that one of that set, and I go reroll and try to get another greater affix on that same set, I could get a greater affix on the same set piece. So rerolling the first set charm is probably going to be the easiest, and that gets harder with each one. So like I mentioned, this can give you a pretty decent power increase, especially since on every single one of these you can get skill increases. Like for instance, this one has an increase to werewolf skills. You can roll up to 3. Well, if all of my skills in my build are werewolf skills, at a baseline you can get +3 to all of those skills, but getting this as a greater FX I think should roll over to be +4. You can also get some pretty good defensives on these, like increase to resistances. You can also get all stats, which is pretty nice for some specific things. You can get armor increases, and I think you can get an all resist as well, but there are some pretty good rolls within this. So all you're going to do is keep re-rolling this, and this isn't necessarily super common either. You could potentially just be re-rolling through this and getting no greater affixes for like thousands and thousands of heraldric resin, and that's why I said that while this can give you a pretty big power increase, this is also going to be like late into the game. And like I mentioned, it's really the heraldric resin that's holding you back from constantly re-rolling this. Like you could see, I just re-rolled through, what was it, like 1500 of this and didn't get a singular greater affix one. Now you can actually go about farming this because anything in the game that you can farm charms or anything in the talisman from will allow you to farm this resource, more specifically using some of the tributes in the Undercity. So specifically the tribute of the Herodrum, which comes in the magic rarity for blue. It also comes in the rare rarity, and also comes in the legendary rarity. It doesn't have a mythic epic version, but it comes in all those rarities. So if you have a bunch of those tributes, you can actually just go farm a ton of charms. But you'll generally just be getting a ton of charms throughout the game. So if you just start to salvage everything, you will build up this currency quite quickly. Keep in mind, I haven't been salvaging almost any of my charms, and I still built up just thousands of these pretty quickly. So if you really want to farm for this Horadric resin, you can do it pretty quickly. But again, like we just went over as we were rolling this, it can be quite rare. So again, this is a much more end game roll. But also on top of that, when you already have like decently rolled pieces for all of your set, you're probably not really going to be using this resin on much of anything. And the raw primordial dust, you just get so much of, it's probably not going to be an issue. So realistically, when you're late into the end game, you're using a resource you're probably not going to be using for anything else to just try to get some additional stats. So if you're at that point, or you already have everything you need and you just want to use this resin for this, you could definitely start to roll for some greater affix versions of these. The power increase can actually be pretty big, especially if you get like a % armor increase, which I think is 8% in the max roll, and a 3+ to all of your skills, and you greater affix both of those. That's a pretty good power increase that most people probably didn't know was even possible. So this is truly one of those areas that you can pretty ridiculously min-max into if you want to spend the time to do that, which I think it's really cool that there are things like this that are actually in the game now. Now, after recording the first part of this video, I noticed that there may actually be a way to get greater affixes on unique charms through the cube as well. And this is recycle uniques, where you put 3 of the same unique and it just spits out a new version of that unique. So you're essentially just using old, not used uniques to try to get a better roll of it. And using this for normal unique pieces of gear can give you ancestral pieces where there wasn't one, and can give you ancestral pieces with greater affixes on them. And you can use this recycle uniques with 3 of the same unique charm. So presumably, if you're like, I don't know, a month down the road and you've just been continuously farming resources and different uniques, turning a bunch you want into unique charms and then rolling them all, there is probably the possibility to also get greater affixes on your unique charm. But this would be so much more excessively farmy that it probably wouldn't be worth. If there's somebody that wants to absolutely min-max in a season of Diablo 4, this is definitely something you could add on top of all of that, but this would be incredibly hard to get unless you get very lucky. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.